Brennan, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's nice to speak with you.
Nice to
I'm
speak with you too.
I'm kind of obsessed with your show. It's so everything everything that could happen on a show happens. I was racing through episodes, obsessed with it, just really interested in it, and you look like you're having the best time.
Oh my God, we did as a cast, and thank you so much. I feel like because of the ensemble, we're able to jam pack so many different stories into a singular episode. And I remember watching the series, and halfway through the episode, you're like, there's more, like there's another half to this because so much happens so quickly because we're just pumping through the ensemble, catching up with everyone's storylines. And we had so much fun shooting the show. I feel like it was the first time I truly felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be.
So this show was in need of unicorns when it was being cast. That's what you said. You had to be able to act and dance. To me, the show almost seems like a unicorn because I don't think I've ever seen anything like it before. How
Oh,
did you
thank
know?
you.
How did you know that it just felt like such a great fit?
I heard about the audition or that this show was kind of coming down the pipeline in advance to getting the self-tape. And as soon as I heard about it, my best friend went out and she read the book and was telling me all about it. And it just sounded like exactly the world I had lived in when I went to Juilliard in New York. It's actually, the book is based on, I believe, the School of American Ballet, which shares a dorm building with Juilliard, and a lot about their dorm life and the atmosphere and being in the studios rehearsing or in ballet class is very similar to what Juilliard dance was like. And so I heard about it and was like, I've lived this. If I don't book something on this show, like it would just be a travesty. And so I remember getting the audition and reading. I actually read for two of the characters on the show, and Shane, the character that I booked, I just read his breakdown and it connected with me so much, kind of about my own personal upbringing and backstory. And I just felt like if there was ever a show for me to book, this had to be it. Sort of, it was sort of like a match made in heaven, or like a dream role, getting to do the dance that I did at Juilliard and then also my new passion for acting. It was sort of like the perfect blend.
What was it about this character in particular? Because you get to play an openly gay character, and very proud of that fact, and also that it just feels like it's such a good fit.
Thank you. With Shane, when I initially read his breakdown, he's characterized as this hot-headed scrapper who was tormented growing up for his love of dance, and now moving away from home is sort of his family's greatest hope. And what I connected with in that, I too grew up getting bullied for being a male dancer and not feeling like I fit in my hometown really. And then it was sort of when I moved away to New York, surrounded by like-minded individuals, that I felt like I kind of flourished and found myself. And what was exciting is that Shane is sort of who I wish I maybe could have been in high school. Because the character is younger than I actually am in real life. It's sort of what I wish my high school experience could have been like. And so playing Shane too demanded a lot of bravery from me, because I found I came up against a lot of kind of points of resistance in myself, of things that I gotten bullied for as a kid that then I was too afraid to try as now an adult. But Shane is really confident and very openly himself. And that was something that was really kind of liberating for me to play with on set and find within myself while growing with the character.
The show has a lot of American actors, dancers, some Canadians as well. You in your sort of hometown of Toronto. What was your favorite memory from set?
Favorite memory from set? I feel like so the day that we filmed the very first Shane and Oren kind of intimate scene was actually my first day on set. I don't know why the AD scheduled it that way, that we had all these intimate scenes on the very first day, but they just kind of threw us into the sharks. And I kind of started off the day with this sort of like walk through the hallway dorm room scene. It was my very first thing that I shot. And I had a concussion from rehearsing leading up to the show, from rehearsals. And Jess Greco, who plays Tori, the kind of RA or dorm mom on the show, her and I both had these like hallway walks that we did. And so we started around the corner and we just started gabbing and chatting. And I got to do this like epic Shane walk in that like really awesome sweater that kind of hangs off of him, going up to the dorm room. There's the dance belt on the door. And it was like such a fun, just like jump into the character and like so full body with that walk. And then right after into this intimate scene, and then after into another really fun scene. And that whole day on set was just so wild and fun. And it felt like I got such a different taste of so many things all in one day because of the scenes that we got to do. And I feel like that really like summarizes what the show was as an actor. As you said, there's so much on this show. It demanded so much from us. And we got to play. It's kind of like an actor's playground. You got to like, I got to have these fist fight scenes where I was doing my own stunts, and we got to dance. And then we had this like intimate choreography that we had to learn and feel comfortable to perform that on set. And these like heated drama scenes, and Shane has a lot of comedy, and that whole day kind of had all those things. And it was my first day on set. I feel like that day sticks out as sort of like a golden moment for me.
So the characters on the show, you know, they are quite friendly, but at times sort of frenemies.
Yeah.
in real life, you know, especially your relationship, for example, with Kylie, you seem to get along really well. What was cast bonding like for you?
As soon as everyone flew into Toronto, myself being sort of the Canadian ambassador, I asked the showrunner if I could message everybody and invite them out to dinner when they all flew in before we had our 2 weeks of rehearsal. And so right away, they all flew in. We'd been DMing on Instagram, and I scheduled or like organized this dinner for all of us. And we all showed up and just immediately bonded, and we're so excited to be together. And then, like I said, we had 2 weeks of dance rehearsal leading up to our first day on camera. And I think that was crucial in allowing us to bond, because I feel like as dancers too, the amount of trust or physical intimacy is so much more than like a regular friendship or a regular co-worker relationship, because you're so in each other's space physically, partnering and learning choreography. And Kylie included, just all of us, I think so much of our chemistry as real life friends then influenced our chemistry on camera. And Kylie and I think see a lot of ourselves in each other. We're both Libras, and we talk about that a lot. And I think we always kind of like find our balance on either side of the group dynamic, because we would hang out all the time as just like a little ensemble.
What does dance mean to you? Obviously going to Juilliard, the show, Next Step, in general, how do you express yourself differently through dance?
It's a good question. I've been asked it a lot. I think for me, what I love about dance, firstly, is that I feel good at it, and it's brought me so much confidence in life. And I think that's really informed the person I've become, is because I grew up doing something I loved and was good at, and it then gave me a lot of self-confidence, even if other people didn't believe in me. And it's also such a way that I understand the world. Like, besides being in rehearsal, anytime like sound comes on at like the train station, the like rattling, I find myself like tapping along. It's really just like movement is how I understand the world. And yeah, I think that's why I love dance so much. I'm good at it, and it's how I perceive the world. Like I don't think there's one day where I'm not kind of like dancing or choreographing in my mind's eye. And yeah.
Right. What does being a creator mean to you? You have a connection even with this show. Tiny Pretty Things connects to your work as creator, and then you've had your web series Australian Airs, and apparently quite busy during this whole pandemic time. What has that meant for you, and what does being a creator bring to the experience for you?
I think the way that I approach being a creator is sort of just like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I think it's really helped me as an actor and a performer kind of doing these creative endeavors on the side, because I've been able to see the more 360 picture of what it looks like to bring something from rehearsal to screen to fruition, and understanding that like just experimenting and seeing what works is probably always the best. Like even as an actor on set, the more options that you give the director in the editing room or the editors, the better the performance on camera is going to be. Like not getting super tied to just one idea and doing one thing perfectly. And so yeah, during this pandemic, I've tried to maximize my time at home. I've had a lot of ideas kind of floating around in my head over the last few years, and So I wrote myself a little like to-do list or a little like dream list of what I would love to accomplish. And they're all things that I can sort of take in my own hands at home. And so I've been developing a few different ideas, Australianers being one of them with my best friend Britt. And also, while we were filming Tiny Pretty Things, I asked a few of our directors if I could shadow them because rarely we would have days that we weren't filming or rehearsing. And so some days I'd go from rehearsal back to set and shadow our directors. And I just feel like it's such a enriching experience to learn about so many other things behind the camera to then bring with me when I'm acting. Like, for example, I remember our director, Joanna, kind of offhandedly told me, oh, as a director, it's a dream when an actor will shut a door at the end of a scene. It's like such a good cutaway point. And so then like 2 weeks later, we were shooting and all leaving the scene. And that popped into my head. And so I pulled the door shut and she came up and was like, thank you. Like, that was perfect. You know, but it's things that had I not shadowed, I wouldn't have learned. So yeah, I love taking a look at the other side of performing and being kind of behind the camera. I think it's really informative.
Mm. So Tiny Pretty Things, still a couple of weeks. I've seen it. I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. And as we said, a lot happens. A lot happens for you. What are you excited for people to see? What are some of the moments in which you think people are just going to go and like just be blown away by what goes on in the show?
Oh, I think a lot of the dance moments I'm really excited for people to see because the other TV series I did, The Next Step, sort of focused on a world of competitive dance, which is what I grew up doing. But while I was filming The Next Step, I was at Juilliard studying classical dance or concert dance. And I'm excited for people to see that other side of me as a dancer. I know it sounds kind of silly to say, but they're very different worlds of dance. Sorry, my cats are being so loud in the background. It's very different worlds of dance. And so I'm really excited for people to see that. Shane has a few really exciting solos that I get to perform. The one on the roof, I think, stands out as a favorite for me. And dancing in front of the bean with Bart is just such an epic and cinematic shot. It was pouring rain. We had like 200 tourists gather around and watch us dance. We're actually at the bean in Chicago. I think people are going to be in awe at that. And episode 10, kind of the mystery that we've been building up to all season, when that sort of like the culprit or the suspect gets revealed in episode 10, that's not even the biggest reveal of that episode. And so I think people are going to lose their minds over that last episode because it's just been building the suspense and this mystery the whole season. And then you get that answer, and then right away there's like 10 other big reveals. I think that episode's really exciting.
Right. So obviously you walk very differently. Shane, you look different. You've got the blonde hair going.
Hair.
Yeah. Do you feel like you maybe dance differently as well too? Would you say you dance as the character?
Yeah, I think I do. That's a cool question. I definitely do. Yeah. A lot of Shane's wardrobe really influenced the way that I carried myself with him. And the first outfit I got to wear with Shane was that really drapey sweater. And I felt like he's someone who's really in his body at all times and a little more like liquidy than how I actually hold myself. And he's also has a lot of rage and anger and trauma from his upbringing. And I think that comes out in sort of those like scrappy moments. He has quite a few like heated fights through the season, and I think his dance. So I did bring a lot of that sort of like unhinged, rage-filled rawness to his dancing in a different way than I normally dance. And it's a story point towards the end of the season, well, sort of all through, that Shane is more of a feminine dancer and has more qualities that we associate with being feminine. So like softer, more lyrical, a little more fluid. And so I thought about that a lot through the whole season and brought a little bit more lyricism to his movement than I normally do.
So a question I usually ask, but one I'm very curious in your case, what do you like to watch? What kind of things have inspired you? What have shows have really made difference?
That's a good question. I've been watching a lot of great TV lately. I love really intelligent storytelling or storytelling that kind of like pushes the mold or changes what you think a TV show can look like. Fleabag being like a big example of that. The way that she breaks the fourth wall in that show, the humor is so surprising. I feel that stands out as one of my all-time favorite TV shows. Recently, I watched Run on HBO. Again, like a 20 to 30-minute comedy. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is also in it, and again, like the style of storytelling of that is so different from what I've seen before. The story is so simple, and yet there's so many layers pulled into that. Yeah, I feel like actually a lot of comedy influences my acting or the way that I enjoy film and TV. I watch a lot of comedies. I've also just watched The Queen's Gambit and loved it.
Yeah, it was a great show as well.
Yeah.
So what has it meant to you in terms of your journey, you know, coming from, I think, Burlington originally?
Yeah.
And then, you know, obviously going to Juilliard, so important for you. Coming back, being in Toronto, shooting the show in Toronto, subbing it for Chicago, of course. What has that meant for you?
I had a lot of really amazing full circle moments while filming the show. The theater that we perform in on the show is the Living Arts Center in Mississauga, where when I was 10, 11, 12, had dance competitions there. When I was 13, 14, 15, had dance recitals, end of year shows there with my competitive dance studios. When we were filming The Next Step, we went and filmed and used that stage as our national stage. And then, yeah, like you said, after Juilliard, I moved back to Toronto for a bit. I lived in Europe for a little while. I was in Vancouver, LA, finally came back to Toronto. And then we got to film Tiny Pretty Things, this huge Netflix show, sort of my like biggest opportunity to date in that same theater. And that was really, really cool. And both of my parents came and visited when we were filming dances out there, because it was only like a 15-minute drive from their house in Burlington. And they got to watch me perform on that same stage that they've seen for sort of like the last 15 years. So it was really special for me to be able to be in Toronto and have my family come and visit and see us on set and not have to like fly in from anywhere. And also for like my birthday, I got to see my parents, and Thanksgiving, I got to see my parents. And so it was really nice being as close to home as I could be for this huge show.
Right. You probably checked the script too to make sure when they would be coming down, right?
Yeah.
Episodes
I did.
Come see my dance more than anything else.
Yeah. I had to make sure that there weren't any intimate moments that day on set, which are also, I mean, not even like that, but just like heated makeouts and stuff. I feel like are kind of odd to film with your parents watching behind the monitors.
What do you feel like in a show like this that you could get away with that sort of thing? It really felt like refreshing, you know, on Netflix, that it pushed the envelope in terms of the content. Or maybe you feel like it didn't push the envelope. It was just nice to be able to be freeing.
No, I think the show absolutely does push the envelope, but I think the way in which they do that is because of the ensemble, because they not only like touch on so many different stories, but like give valuable screen time to so many different stories. And they don't shy away from anything either. Like they really, I think, of course, it's very stylized and beautiful, but they show you the like beautiful and sort of like the gritty or the ugly side to everything that they kind of bring up in the show. And again, like show everything. They show like a heterosexual couple having sex. They show a homosexual couple having sex. They show girls kissing. They show boys kissing each other. They show girls and boys kissing. And I think it's just important. I think representation in general is important. And I love being a part of a show that stands for that.
Very nice. So you get to do a lot on this show. What are some of the things that you maybe haven't had a chance to do yet on screen that you would like to do?
Oh, that's a cool question. I would love to do some of the like green screen falling. I don't know how it would work into the show, but the way that Cassie falls in the beginning was all green screen. And so she was kind of rigged in this like, I think they used like a bike seat or something with like handlebars for her to like lay on in this green screen setup. I would love to do something like that. There has yet to be a Shane dream sequence on the show. And I would love to see what his sort of like inner mind nightmare would look like and what that would be. I've cameoed in other people's dreams through the show, but I haven't had my own. So I think I would love to do that season 2.
All right. What would your real life dreams look like a little bit? You know, what if do you actualize what you want to do, what you want to be in, and then it just comes true?
I practice a lot of like dream journaling, or like I have a list kind of going in my journal of, I call them like goals and manifestations because I feel like they're different. Goals are sort of things that I can like control myself and do. So for example, this year I had like learn how to ride a horse, start seeing a therapist. And then on my manifestation side, it's more things like dance in a music video, or um, produce my own TV show, or things that like I can somewhat control, but also are sort of up to the opportunities that present themselves. Um, and one of the like best tips one of my friends told me is the minutes before you lay, like, or laying in bed, the minutes before you fall asleep, visualizing. Like I always used the power of visualization with dance growing up, but I forgot about it recently. And so I've been laying in bed before bed and visualizing myself in a hair and makeup chair, in a trailer, at a table read, at an award ceremony, wherever it sort of is that I would love to see myself in a few months or a few years. I like practice that sort of idea of visualization to hopefully like manifest or put that out there, ask for that in those like little moments before falling asleep.
Mm. So some people, when they're looking at sort of their career arc, they tend to sort of push down or deny some of the things that they do. But for the next step, for example, you embrace it fully, and it had a lot of fans, and not just in Canada. You know, people around the world were watching it. What did that mean for you, and what does that sort of mean in terms of your arc?
Yeah, I think I always try to live by, and it's harder said than done, but I try to live by the rule that like if you don't look back at yourself 5 years ago and you're not a little embarrassed, then you probably haven't grown as a person. And so I try to live by that. Like watching back my acting on the next step, I'm not proud of it. It's not currently how I think about myself as an actor, or now knowing what I know. But the next step was perfect for me at the time that I was on it. And it got my foot in the door with the film and television industry, and it showed me what acting on a set could be like. And because of that, it changed the entire trajectory of my life. I wanted to go to school for like sciences, and then I booked my character on the next step, and I got into Juilliard at the same time within the span of like a month, and it completely changed my entire life. And the opportunity of the next step prepared me for other jobs I booked after for tiny pretty things. Yeah, I feel like there, if I don't embrace it, then I'm not proud of it. And I'm so proud of the next step, even though it's obviously not a current representation of my work now. It was perfect for me 10 years ago, whenever it was that I started on that show.
So what is your next step in terms of Tiny Pretty Things is gonna be, I mean, I hope it finds that audience, because I've never seen a show like this before. I've never seen a performance like yours. What do you think your next step will be in terms of this show?
I do. I really hope that the show takes off and finds the audience that it needs to. I think people are really in need of a show like this. I think people want to see themselves represented on camera, and like I said, our show does a great job at representing so many different people and so many different stories. And I would love to do multiple seasons of this show. I think there's so much room to explore and grow with these characters, and it's sort of built into the world that CityWorks Ballet is the professional company that this feeder school goes into. So I think there's a lot of longevity and a lot of room to grow with the story. So I would love to continue doing seasons of this. I have a few projects in development right now that I'm really excited about that I would be producing and acting in. And again, they're stories that I haven't seen told before, and books that I read that I connected with and cried reading, and now I'm trying to get to screen. So a few of those projects I am like really holding out hope for, that maybe we can, even if everything works out perfectly, squeeze in between seasons of Tiny Pretty Things, or who knows.
Very nice. Such a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah,
I
thank
really
you so
enjoyed it. I
much.
really
This is
liked what you
awesome.
said.